I ain't exactly what you call a magazine expert, but I know what people buy. These babies sell like nobody's business. I've seen them come, I've seen them go too. This here's a peach of a buy. You got your whole TV shebang right inside. Everything worth watching. And when you're a busy old geezer like me, you don't have time to miss the good stuff.
TV Guide, on sale now wherever magazines are sold.
Living at Sherwood Oaks makes sense, makes friends, and makes living well the best part of retirement.
There is no social pressure. We live in independent homes, and we live privately.
We're free from home maintenance, yard maintenance, and operations, and have time to relax at this time of our lives.
I've always said life has changed, and it's a nice change to come to Sherwood Oaks.
We did it together.
You helped KDK and the press raise over $2.2 million for the kids at Children's Hospital.
What can we say but thanks?
Tonight's forecast from the KDK TV Weather Center.
Hello, I'm Gary Collins. Welcome to Our Magazine. In the 1950s, Joan Collins was an international sex symbol, as seen in the 1957 production of Rally Round the Flag Boys. Well, almost 30 years later, the boys are still rallying to be near the sex symbol of the 80s, despite the fact she plays one of the most selfish, manipulative, and ever so seductive women on TV.
Excuse me.
If I were you.
Don't you just love her? Please welcome once again an actress who has created a sensation and a woman who is sensational, Joan Collins. I'm telling you, you just did it to me.
I did what?
Now,
yes.
We know each other, but we, you know, not
intimately.
Not intimately. And, you know, we're often accused in Hollywood of, you know, just giving someone you meet last evening at 5 o'clock for cocktails a great big kiss when they walk out. So suddenly I have my hand out, and she rushes to him. I said, hey, I could get lucky here. And as we wheel around, she says, I must show them the back of the coat, darling.
Well,
oh, that's great.
If you've got it, flaunt it.
Oh, well, honey, you got it. Those are your favorite colors? What, black?
Black and white.
Yesterday white,
yes.
And today black.
Yes, yes. They epitomized both sides of my character.
What about Joan's character?
Black and white.
Black and white. One of the things we talked about yesterday were the, I guess, black and whites of a career, the ups and downs, all the craziness that happens. You've suddenly, your career is probably higher than it's ever been, and I see you taking advantage of it. I mean, are you doing different things now that you didn't do during the 50s and the early 60s with a career?
Oh, yes. Well, first of all, I think I know so much. I mean, you haven't been in the business for 30 years without knowing pretty much everything there is to know about it. The only thing I don't know about is lighting. I never wanted to be one of those actresses that had to be in the right light, because I think that's very inhibiting. So I don't know anything. I don't know whether this is good, bad, or indifferent. I don't care. But I do know a lot, and I'm very, I mean, I think I have a very good bead on what I should do and what I shouldn't do in terms of publicity and in terms of parts and in roles. And I really want to take advantage of what I have achieved in a way, because there's so many things that I really want to do. I mean, I want to do theater. I love theater. That's what I started off wanting to do. I want to, hopefully, you know, end up my days as an old actress like Kathleen Nesbitt or something, being wheeled on and playing the mother in Dr. Dolittle, in My Fair Lady.
Listen, they could revive that.
Yeah.
But one of the things that surprised me, and I mean, you certainly don't have to worry about being wheeled on stage, is the thing that you did for Playboy.
I thought that was a step for feminism, actually.
Was
I
it?
really did. I did. I think any ladies out there, some may agree with me. I think that Playboy is a terrific magazine with wonderful articles, and I think that it's basically geared towards young men between, say, 17 and 35 or whatever. And basically, the girls that are featured in that magazine are usually, you know, 19 to 24. And when they asked me to do it, and I'm not between 19 and 24, I thought about it. And I said, why not? I'm going to do this because I think that this is going to be very good for women, because I think that there's so many negative things associated with getting older, particularly for women, that I wanted to try and show in some way that there was nothing wrong with it, and there's nothing wrong with a woman.
No, there was nothing wrong with it. I just...
Looking good.
I think we may have talked about this when you were here with Jackie, about your book, Past Imperfect.
Yes.
Now, it was released in England.
Yes.
But it wasn't. Jackie, by the way, is Joan's sister and a very accomplished and successful novelist.
Yes,
This seems to be the decade for the Collins family.
It isn't. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it wasn't released in England, and I believe at the time you mentioned that you were sort of against it being released here. But now it's going to be published in April, I believe.
Yes, April the 8th it's being published, and it's changed quite a bit. I brought it up to date. I wrote it in 1978, and so I brought it up to date with Dynasty and with all the things that happened. And my life in the past, in fact, people say to me, you don't need to go to Dynasty, your life is a soap opera. Because it has been a very strange and interesting life, and since I started in this business at 16, it's been a very interesting life in more ways than one, in terms of the people I've met, the people I've worked with, in terms of the men that I've been involved with in one way or another, whether professionally or emotionally or romantically or maritally.
Well, I mean, you're quite candid in the book.
Oh, I'm very candid.
Yeah.
I mean,
tell all. She writes about men that she has been intimately involved with, Ryan O'Neill and Robert Wagner and
what did Robert book about? No, Robert Wagner.
Bob Wagner isn't in there?
Somebody else's
well, he must
book.
be relieved. How many are in there? Now
Well,
that you've
you're
updated
not.
It? No, I'm not. But
maybe next
if-
time.
no,
Maybe
if-
volume 2. You never know. Sorry, Mary.
if there's a place to get a... If there's a place to get a ticket, I'd like to know. But anyway, my point is, I'll bet they're nervous, but also...
No, they're not. Why should
I don't know, because well, they don't know what you said, because
Well, they read the English version already.
Oh, they did already, so
yes,
you haven't received any calls.
There are no lawsuits
in the
going
middle of
on.
the night.
No,
All right.
no.
But what about? I mean, you're a very active, dating, single woman. I mean, does that put any pressure on fellas that you go out with, knowing that they might be in volume 2?
No, no. Oh, heavens to Betsy. Gosh.
Well, it's something a guy thinks about you.
Oh, I feel like I need some smelling salts. No, I don't think so. No, why should it? I mean, but basically, when I call it Past Imperfect, it's really about the past.
Yeah.
The past being really something that kind of ends in I was finding myself romantic. I was always an incurable romantic, very emotional. To me, I was totally led by my heart. And being in love was the most important thing in the world. And so I would throw everything over for love. Everything. Scripts, producers, nothing. The only thing that mattered in my life was the man in my life. Or the life in my man, as they would say. And so that was sort of a mistake, really. Yeah. Because now I realize that I'm very career-oriented, and of course I'm very motherly-oriented towards my kids. And also, men are very important. I mean, I think that people would be, I would be a liar if I said that it wasn't important to be emotionally involved. I think it's very important. And
I think most women...
What makes the world go round. But I haven't gotten into that in the up-to-date years.
Well, you certainly make the world go around with what you say and what you do. And you're mentioning men kind of running your life. I was surprised the other night. Well, it was the funniest thing in the world. I think Johnny Carson said something to the effect that he woke up and it was so weird. He almost panicked because he didn't see you on the cover of a magazine.
Oh, gosh.
Or in the paper or something. Now, I'm going to run some headlines by you.
Oh, dear.
All right. Now.
Are you?
Yeah, please react if you will, because
I'm sure I will.
Yes. Well, she seems to be doing everything right. And these things seem to help it all, which is really, because you get people that sit down here and say, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I'm going to sue them, but these seem to work for you. My Fabulous Young Lover by Joan Collins.
Which one was that?
I don't know. Where is it? There it is.
Well, he's not so young. He's 36. That's not so young.
Okay. Pamela Sue blasts the show and Joan Collins cries out, I think she hates me.
Oh, well, I always think everybody hates me.
Okay.
I mean,
On and off camera, Joan Collins helps in the making of male model John Eric Hexam. Not a bad job.
That I did.
Yeah. Joan Collins' rejection drove me to the brink of suicide by husband.
I don't know about that.
Yeah?
I think they made that up.
Okay. Now, this goes to what you said just a couple of minutes ago. Not a couple of minutes ago. A couple of seconds. Joan Collins exclusive. Men have run my life since I was 17, but now I'm making it by myself. And by golly, you sure are.
What am I making?
Huh?
An antimacassar?
Well, just treat this as a momentary pause.
Well, it is kind of interesting. I mean, there's a certainly a diversified group of things and different attitudes. Well, I think that what happens when you sort of become popular is that people want to write about you, so they write all different things. Some of them are true, some of them are not. There's always a slight element of truth.
But I guess, all right, my point is, does that hurt you, or does it help, or is it negligible?
It doesn't hurt me anymore, no. I used to be very upset by reviews and press things when I was a young girl, and I used to cry and run into the bathroom and throw myself on the floor and pound my pillow and weep. But now I realize it's not only me that they do it to, they do it to everybody. So if I can think about that, and I think, oh, it's not just you, they do it to Johnny Carson or Morgan Fairchild or Linda Evans or it's done to everyone. So it just seems to me. And also, the same thing is that something really awful was written about me, and I was talking to my sister about it on the phone. And she was telling me about it, and about 5 days later she called back and she said, what are you going to do about that awful thing that they wrote about you? And I said, what awful thing? And she said, oh, I can't remember. I said, so you see, people forget. Well, and that's what happens.
You've come full circle with your career and your life. You're now single, independent, extremely successful. Your first book was what? Past Imperfect.
Yes.
If you were to write it now, present what?
Present, present perfect, or future perfect, I hope. Well, nothing in life is perfect. You can only hope for the best, and there are no guarantees in life. You can only do as much as you can and hope it's going to turn out well. There's no guarantee to say I'm not going to make a lot of mistakes in the future. I mean, there's no... I would hope that I don't make as many mistakes.
But it's awfully nice to have it to look forward to, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Joan, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Coming up on today's show, Bonnie Strauss gets some advice on how to make this Valentine's Day a particularly romantic one, and it's simply seduce him. We'll go back on board with travel expert Marty Leshner when we continue our series and learn the appropriate dress for life on deck. And speaking of romance, Jose E. Bear will show us some hairstyles that'll give you the look that'll put him in the mood. Well, it's like a theme show, so stay with us. All this and more in today's edition of Our Magazine.
You know, whenever I'm on the road, I spend a lot of time thinking about my family and what steps I've taken to help secure their future. Of course, we all know how important it is to protect our loved ones. And yet, the older we get, the harder it can be to find the life insurance we need. Some insurance companies tell you you're too risky. So how do you protect your family in the event of your death? Well, I've got the answer. If you're between the ages of 45 and 75, have a pencil and paper handy for a very important phone number. Now your acceptance for permanent life insurance is guaranteed without a medical exam and regardless of your occupation. Now, you and I know there are few guarantees in life, but listen to this. Union Fidelity guarantees life insurance to you and your spouse without any embarrassing health questions at all. Now, if you're 45 to 75, you can't be turned down. And that's a promise. And there's more, because this is permanent whole life insurance. Your premiums are an interest and build cash value. This outstanding opportunity is available to you directly from Union Fidelity Life Insurance Company. Now, by calling their toll-free number, you'll receive in the mail this information kit free that explains it all, and there's no obligation. Now, here's the clincher. The reasonable group rate that you start out with today is the monthly rate you keep for the rest of your life. It will never increase, and you can never be singled out for cancellation. Now remember, if you're 45 to 75, you can't be turned down. Do yourself a favor. Go to the phone right now and call for your free information kit. Give your family the added insurance protection of Union Fidelity's guaranteed life coverage today. I mean, this is a guaranteed opportunity you just can't miss.
Call toll-free 1-800-441-4040 or write to Life Coverage, Trevose, PA 19048. Operators are standing by now.
Oh, I'm telling you, that music really puts you in the mood. Now, I hope that none of you out there have forgotten Valentine's Day, and if you have, it's not too late to think of some special way to celebrate. Today, Bonnie Strauss learns how you can add that extra ounce of romance to your marriage. Bonnie?
Well, Gary, romance, love, and the feeling of being cherished, things that most of us want to have, but how many people in long-standing relationships talk about those wonderful initial moments of passion and the desire for them again? Well, Alexandra Penney, the author of How to Make Love to Each Other, has some suggestions on how to enjoy your partner more and get back to some of those original feelings. We had talked, earlier about the whole issue of seduction, and I guess because sex is such a delicate thing for so many people, and so often so many problems have been built up and not addressed over the years, I'm kind of cautious about ever using how to improve anything. And yet your book is really for men and for women, and how together to work towards a more satisfying relationship. And there is a game also built in.
Well, sex is one part of intimacy. It's a very critical part and a very crucial part. I would have written a book about how to have sex with each other. But this is really how to make love to each other. And seduction, we were talking about seduction before, is a very important part of that. And what it really means is the art of making love, the physical arts, the emotional arts, setting a scene, a wonderful ambiance. Romance, really, we're looking for romance, most of us, and that's what's left in a relationship which is really turning cold. When the bedroom blah set in, romance is left. So you have to learn how to seduce someone.
Okay, teach us.
Okay, what is seduction all about? It's setting a scene. It's a way, as I said, it's one part of intimacy. I have some questions to ask, a test if you want, that we can all take.
Sure.
And we might answer these questions, and if you don't answer most of them or some of them yes, your marriage might be in trouble. So let me start with this. When was the last time that you surprised your husband or your lover with his favorite dinner or his favorite chocolate cake? First question. Next one. When was the last time you two went away for a romantic weekend together? When did he kidnap you or you kidnap him and the two of you went off together? When was the last time you bought him a special little surprise gift? When was the last time he sent you flowers or you sent him flowers? Men love to have flowers sent to them. When was the last time you took a long walk together or the two of you went dancing? This is something that people really love to do before they're married, but after they get married, it kind of just, it goes by the wayside. When was the last time you made love together at least twice during the night? When was the last time you took a special night on the town when you planned everything? You made the dinner reservations. You bought the tickets to the movies or to the theater. You planned a special ice cream and cake surprise afterwards. In other words, you took charge. When was the last time you took a bath or showered together? And when was the last time you talked until dawn together? That's something we always did when we were romantic, and again, it falls by the wayside.
Now, I'm just thinking of the people who are at home listening to this and trying to gauge whether or not they have any romance, and if they find that they're not answering, well, we've done this recently, there's a kind of desperation that sets in.
Well, you know what really one of the greatest problems that I'm a journalist, and what I have come across in my research is communication is the biggest problem. Most books tell you, you must communicate. What I tried to do was write something that tells you, how do you do it? How do you start a conversation if he rejects these kinds of things, or if he doesn't respond, or if you haven't had a romantic time together in the last 2 years?
But what happens when you have an existing pattern? And sometimes there's a real hesitancy to change that. I think that a lot of people, fear rejection. Or they fear being laughed at. How do you go about, how would you suggest, and what does your research reveal in terms of how to go about changing that pattern subtly? Is it talked through? Is it done spontaneously?
No, you must really talk about it. Communication, as I said, is crucial, and there are many ways to start talking about what you want, what you hate, what you love, what you don't love. But there are really 3 secrets to great lovemaking, and I'd like to go over
Boy, you must be invited to so many parties.
Well, I have done a lot of research. The first is a very simple one. It's concentration. When you concentrate fully on your husband, your partner, and make him feel totally loved, that's one of the most seductive things you can do. You feel totally, totally enveloped with love by that person.
That means shutting out everything else. The kids running through, the phone ringing, the dirty dishes that didn't get done.
That's right, and that leads to my second point about the secret to great lovemaking. It's time. It's taking the time to be with each other, as we said on this quiz, that kind of thing. Quality time. If you have to leave the dishes in the sink and you need to talk to your husband or your lover and have a cup of coffee together, leave the dishes in the sink. It's yucky, I do it, but I spend time with my husband. And the third real secret about great lovemaking is simply technique. We're supposed to be sexually savvy today. You know, we're supposed to know what buttons to press, and the sexual revolution told us how to be great lovers. What's amazing is many people aren't, and they're embarrassed to say. You really have to know how to physically pleasure each other. You have to know about the techniques of making love. You have to know about erection problems, orgasm problems, all of the kinds of things that come up, and how to talk with them about them, and actually physically, step by step, how to deal with them. So I do talk a lot about technique, as well as the emotional, romantic part of love.
Well, what if you initiate some of these changes and they haven't all been talked through? Because the fear sometimes in talking something through is that, and especially according to some of the things that I read, that men feel that it's been talked through to death and it kills the spontaneity.
That is when you're not really talking with each other. You're probably talking to each other and missing each other's points. Communication is critical. You have to get a two-way discussion going. Many men are afraid to even talk, and they don't dare talk about certain subjects. But you might pick up a book or a magazine article. My book has a flashy title, a kind of suggestive title. That helps. And say, what do you think about this? How do you feel? The whole point is to get a two-way dialogue going. A woman I know made up a really sexy dream. She had a marvelous relationship with her husband, but he was very reticent to talk about sex, and she made up this great dream. Anything can go in a dream, right? And they started talking about what he really wanted, what she really wanted. It was the first time they talked about it. You might even say, I'm nervous. This makes me uncomfortable to talk about this, but I love you. I want to have an intimate relationship with you. Let's really find out and explore. You might try the 10-minute agreement, which is where each of you do for 10 minutes what you most want to each other. You might try role reversal, which is a really wonderful way to start talking. He plays the man or the woman, and you play the man.
Well, you never know today.
This is true. But there's a wonderful consequence of role reversal where you start talking about what you really want and what you really need. And it's a very seductive thing. It's a kind of way of feeling and finding out the kind of touch he likes, what he really needs to know about what you feel when you're making love together.
I guess it's really important to say, okay, we may have a history and we may have lost some of those wonderful early moments, but there's a lot more that we can do. And I guess it's really an issue of trust as well. And play, absolutely. That sex doesn't have to be serious and rooted.
You've got to laugh. You're going to hit some of the wrong buttons a lot of the time. You have to have a sense of humor. You have to say, listen, let's start being romantic again. Let's really, really take the time to be together. Let's take the kids to the grandparents. Let's go to a motel for a weekend.
Okay, now after all this advice, I have one question. Are you married?
Yes, I am.
I have two questions. Do you do this all with your husband?
Of course I do. Don't you think I learned from my research that it's essential?
Well, I mean, I'm just curious about your favorite moment.
My favorite moment is just taking time, turning off the phones, sitting with my husband after dinner, having a cup of coffee, and really, really talking.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a lot more than that. My goodness.
Not for television.
Thanks for being with us. You're cautious. We'll be back in just a moment.